Hello, everyone. Welcome to Telling Tales. We make atmospheric role playing games and we stream them for you here on Twitch, and then we leave them on YouTube like some kind of feculent spore for you to digest later. But enough about spore for now, at least. This is Symbaroum after all. Welcome. Witchhammer, second part of the Throne of Thorns campaign. We started it last week and now we're getting on with it. And by getting on with it, I mean that I have heavily adjusted the opening to it. So if you're like, this doesn't seem like the Witch Hammer I've read 1,000 times, then yeah, you're right. It might not. Before we start bringing on the players and doing recaps and things like that, as usual, it's wonderful promo time. If you check down below, you will find a bunch of links to YouTube and Twitch. You're watching this on one of those sites. Why not check us out on the other one? And hit subscribe or follow or whatever tickles your fancy. You'll also find links to our social media, to our Patreon, to our Discord. If those are things you'd like to get involved with, then please do. We would appreciate it. We're currently running 3 weekly shows here on Twitch. Mondays is Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay. Tuesdays is Cincinnati Chronicles, which is our World of Darkness anthology series, currently on its final arc of Changeling the Dreaming. Wednesdays is, of course, Symbaroum. That's this. And in addition to those, we also run monthly one-shots of various systems, various games. The next one is this Sunday. That'll be Sunday, August the 14th, and in the afternoon, in our own time zone, we will be playing a game of Night of the Hogmen, which is a pre-written sort of one-shot story for an upcoming RPG called Teeth, which is a Forged in the Dark game. So if you're a fan of Blades in the Dark and that kind of thing, it might be right up your alley. Yeah, Night of the Hogmen. Get involved. So, without any further ado, let's start reeling on our wonderful Symbaroum crew. And we can start talking about how Witchhammer kicked off last week. And we're going to start off with everyone's favorite changeling scout and archer and ranger. It's Sam. Or more accurately, it's Ascarai, because Sam himself is not a changeling ranger or scout. Sam himself is a changeling barbarian. But
true, very true. But yeah, we kicked off with Ascarai arriving back to Thistlehold. He seemed to be the last one of the party to arrive. It was kind of a very unpleasant evening when he got back. He was greeted by the familiar Dirac at the gate, given a bit of friendly banter from Dirac, as friendly as Dirac really gets. And then he made his way to the Witch and Familiar, thinking and correctly predicting that is where most of the party would be having a drink on kind of an unpleasant evening in Thistlehold. His time away had been spent in Castor talking with Semmel, who is an Iron Pact sort of very low-level member of the Iron Pact who we'd met previously, just to try and get some information and also to share some of the information that we'd gathered. I think Semmel didn't have too much information, but he had heard of the Prince Iarno, I think it is, who is kind of an elf prince that we heard but didn't see when we visited the elves in deep in Thistlehold. But he didn't have too much other information other than I think he had been in contact with some member of the Iron Pact, but no specific news on that front. The only other thing Ascarai had been up to was sort of investigating a little bit the corruption and cult activity in Thistlehold, but other than sort of a general kind of making sure that everything was okay within Mother Mahira's agency, nothing too much had been going on, and everything seemed to be quite quiet in the month that we'd been taking a break.
Yeah, as quiet as Thistlehold gets, anyway.
Yeah.
And then I believe you were. Was the Ganderald bit in yours as well?
Ganderald. I don't think so. Maybe.
I'm checking now,
Oh
Sam,
yes,
and
it
I'm
was.
very
It was.
sorry to say it
No,
was.
I'm completely mistaken. So when Asker arrived back at the Witch and Familiar, Ganderold, who is a changeling and member of the Order Magica, who would previously he came with us on our first trip down the sinkhole, and maybe the second trip as well, but certainly the first trip. He came with sort of a proposal that we help an arm of the Order Magica, basically him and his master, to investigate um, a couple of sites in Davakar that were, potentially related to elves in some way. They had an interest in that kind of thing. The Order Magica itself was reluctant to fund it, but it would kind of be funded privately by Ganderold's Master Furia, is it?
Master Gonkai.
Master Gonkai, that's the one. And so the proposal was that we basically accompany Ganderold while he goes and does his Order Magica studying of these two places. And I think generally the party felt like this was a pretty good deal since they seem not too dangerous, and we would be able to keep whatever we found as long as we also let Ganderold and Gonkai study it beforehand.
Absolutely, that was generally the notion. So moving on, then let's bring on our second player, John. John plays Sir Aaron Dar, last scion of House Dar, and a young, somewhat impulsive conscience of the group. John, hi.
Hi.
Hi. What happened next, John?
Well, what happened next didn't super concern most of the people here. Anton, who are our third of the group, went to speak to Desable, the Lightbringer, at the church. Where
can I just say that this is amazing, and this will mean nothing to anyone else. But are you delighted to know you just called Desable?
Yeah,
which is an NPC you probably haven't thought about for several years.
I just remembered who that
is from a very old vampire campaign that we did. So there we go. Extra prizes out to people in the chat who can tell us who Desable is, because they are a pre-written NPC in an old vampire book. But anyway, carry on.
So not Desable, but Desaba asked Anton to deliver a letter to the Queen's cousin?
Queen's nephew.
In
Duke Inadar in Ravenia.
The opposite direction of where we're going. Told him not to read the letter, and that if anyone was ever going to read the letter, please burn it and pretend it never existed. So with a heavy heart, Anton had to leave us to go do that.
Absolutely. And for anyone curious, Mike isn't able to join us for some weeks. So this is the way in which Anton was written out in the meantime. But he will be back. And what did Aaron get up to between the two stories?
He commissioned an epic song detailing his cousin's last fight, Sir Orla of House Dar. And he spent... he tried to work with Father Savola and try and bend his ear about the refugee camp Blackmore, but Father Savola, he's not quite in hiding, but he's not seen very often. And when Aaron tried to talk to him about offering protection services so that Savola could go about his business, Savola sort of gave the impression that he really wasn't worried in any way, and it was a little bit strange.
Absolutely. But still, that's good to know, right? Probably,
yeah.
Maybe. Let's wheel out our third player. It's Chris, also known as Steo, grumpy former infantryman turned sellsword, Hi, Chris. What's
Hello.
going on with you and with Steo?
Well, after a nice night of pints and in the game, we kind of went our separate ways. And the two, myself and Aaron, were both kind of leaving. And shortly after we left, we were each kind of summoned by a voice that sounded like the other. So Aaron heard a plea from Steo, and Steo heard a plea from Aaron to come down this perfectly safe looking back alleyway, which is a great thing to do in Thistlehold. Steo had the wherewithal to realize that this is how like 70% of awful mugging stories start in Thistlehold, so at least went armed. But more's the fool us, because we walked a short way and met ourselves, each other, in the middle of a clearing in the back streets, and a shadowy voice asked us if we were a friend in strife and sorrow, which was the gift we got for not asking the elves for anything at the end of the last thing, but also somewhat of a toothed gift, because it kind of implies we're now at least somewhat at the behest of the Iron Pact, and that was the thrust. They told us to go to the Great Plateau and seek out. Forget who we were supposed to seek out, but we were supposed to say that the lady had sent us.
Yes, and, you are to seek out someone called Malahai, who I believe they refer to as one of the forest people, which I think you have to assume are elves. The Great Plateau, of course, being Karvosti, where the Huldra, the chief witch of the barbarian clans, and the high chieftain himself dwell. Fortunately, you're kind of going in that direction already, so almost as if it ties together somehow. What did Steo get up to in the interim?
Well, in the interim, Steo went on. I think it's kind of in my head. It feels like about 3 months. We definitely kind of polished off winter, but Steo spent most of that time in Jackad's Heart, either drinking away a lot of his fortune or kind of helping out, doing security, and just generally kind of being somewhere a little less frantic than Thistlehold. When he wasn't doing that, he was in Thistlehold, kind of doing the usual, but also apprenticing to an old Ambrian healer and some other kind of tribal healers as well, to buy the next level of Medicus, but just to kind of be something a bit less fighty.
Sure, absolutely. And to wrap up our recap of that first episode, let's bring on our final player, Stephen. Stephen plays Elindra, former novice Templar turned hacker, a part of almost anything for pay. Stephen, how did we wrap up the session, and also what did Elindra get up to on her time away?
All right, well, wrapping up the session, we said our goodbyes to Anton and headed out through the north gate. Took a fairly solid wall of abuse from Dirac, because that's just how he do. And made our way to the forest. Where I assume adventure awaits.
We'd hope.
Yeah, I guess it might be an entirely uneventful ramble, but that's why we're all here to find out, right? So in the intervening time, since the last adventure, Elindra spent some time in Jackad's Heart, unwinding with Steo, some time in Thistlehold, working, mostly kind of bodyguarding things, and some work that sort of traded off. I guess the whole party's status as sort of minor local celebrities now. She looked some more into the Church of the Dying Sun and read the book that was given to her, the Book of Dead Prios, which claims that Prios was murdered by agents of the Eternal Night during the war in Albarator, and that all that there is left for Prios-fearing folk to do is to organise some kind of vengeance for this. I don't think Elindra's formed a strong opinion on that yet, but it's I think she's interested, she's listening.
Yeah.
There may well be. I think if the party ever has cause to go via Temple Wall, she's got some names of the kind of head of the Templars to maybe seek out,
Absolutely.
a spokesperson to try and find out more. The other thing she was trying to find out about is the source of her weird untrained sorceress powers, which are probably the things that got her kicked out of the Templars in the first place in the church. She's been working a little bit with Fria from the Ordo Magica, who's been asking lots of questions and not offering much in the way of answers, and has now disappeared off to Indaros, and says to join in there if she wants to carry on getting answers. But I think in the meantime, she thinks it's equally possible that the answers can be found in Davakar. So I think
why not?
She's going to stick around for this particular excursion.
Many answers can be found under the shadowy boughs of Davakar, and it is exactly there where we will pick up for this session. And we're going to pick up probably, let's say, a day and a half later on your travels north into Davakar. You have been following a quite frequently used path that leads through the forest from Thistlehold to Karvosti. It's definitely not a road. It is in no way paved, but the vegetation is mostly kept clear of it. And you have, in fact, passed several travelers coming the other way, most of whom who kind of left the road a little bit to allow you to pass and watched you going with wary eyes. You know, no one patrols this. No one keeps it safe. And it's just kind of, you know, it's a gamble to travel anywhere through Davakar, even on this relatively frequently used pathway between the two settlements. Ganderold is accompanying you and seems to be making fine time on his own, occasionally making observations of things from the pathway into the forest. You see him pluck a couple of mushrooms and flowers up and kind of press them into, well, the flowers he presses, the mushrooms, that probably wouldn't work. Kind of pops them into a pouch at his side, clearly interested in maybe what they do or what they are. And you also have a couple of relatively sedate donkeys kind of accompanying you with some pack stuff on them. One of them is carrying all of Ganderal's stuff, and he has quite a lot of it. He seems to have kind of half a library on the back of one donkey. And a good deal of various other supplies as well. And he has informed you that it won't be long until you will start seeing signs of this first site he's spoken of. He's not entirely sure what it is, essentially. Like, you've essentially got out of him that there's a number of sites in the area. He thinks he knows what some of them might be, but generally he won't know which one's which until he arrives at them. And even then, it might be a bit of a roll of the die for him to guess, essentially, where you are. So that's fun. He seems quite excited by it, however, after the initial sort of intimidation factor of Davakar wore off. It's late in winter, and there is sort of a light dusting of snow on the ground, but nothing that's making the travel too treacherous. Is there anything that anyone will have been trying to do or say or keep an eye out for other than the obvious as you've been traveling this pathway?
I think maybe if we see, you said the people coming from the north probably have avoided us, right?
Yeah.
Okay. In that case, maybe not. But if anyone doesn't avoid us, I would ask, we've heard kind of rumors of sort of trouble brewing in the north. If there's anyone who doesn't avoid us, I think that's what I would ask about that. But
sure. And you know what? I think, so maybe let's say that not everyone completely avoided you. There was a caravan moving south that had quite a few caravan guards, all from various barbarian clans. And they did eye you warily, but they obviously thought, you know, there's more of us, there are of you. We have nothing to really fear. And you just kind of moved each to the side. And one of the drivers looked to be maybe the only Ambrian in the group. Kind of, as you passed, sort of bid you sort of good day and asked for news from Thistlehold, which, you know what, I'm interested to see what people say as for news from Thistlehold. So who would have replied to that, do you think? Would that be an Ascarai, being as he was looking out for it?
Yeah, sure. I think firstly I would ask, how long since you've been in town?
I've been out of the forest for months.
Have you seen the sinkhole?
Ooh, I heard something about a hole.
There's been some trouble since you were last in town. Things are calmer now, but there was a lot of problems. Many died. You'll see when you reach town that they're rebuilding, but it will be a slow process.
He kind of clutches at his sun symbol that he has around his neck and says, "No plague or anything."
No, it's all safe now, but many buildings have collapsed. I don't know where you live or where you stay, but in the northern part of town, there was a large sinkhole.
Oh, I don't own any property or anything.
Yeah.
Okay.
What about you, friend? How are things in the north?
Karvosti seems fine enough. There's been some tension between the clans, I think. Some tension between the Huldra and the High Chieftain too. I don't get involved in that kind of thing. I only really speak a few words of Odav, but a lot of angry clansmen around, and there's darker tales from further north. War, they say. I don't know if these people can make war on each other. From what I've seen, they don't seem to have any armies. Maybe a bit of raiding and exaggeration.
Well, doesn't sound good, but as you say, hopefully it won't be outright war. Do you know what they're angry about? What the cause is?
No idea. Could be anything. Someone saw the wrong sign or symbol overhead in the forest. Who knows?
Well, best of luck. Safe travels on your journey to Thistlehold.
You two, friends. He kind of nods and waves at them a bit. A large barbarian man next to him kind of looks at him with kind of some relief, as if kind of slightly begrudging him stopping to have words with you. And the caravan moves onwards. And it's not long after that, let's say a couple of hours of further travel north, when all of you start to see it starts as just there being more like kind of larger rocks and stones at the side of the pathway nearby. And then they obviously start to become very fragmented and rubbly ruins. Just kind of, scattered around, nothing really formed in any way, nothing really coherent in any way. And Ganderald, who's been up the front with one of the donkeys, sort of comes to a halt and says, "This might be. I need to get a map." And he starts kind of like rummaging in the saddlebags and pulls out some scrolls, and he's sort of like trying to hold like 3 or 4 scrolls on the side of the donkey at the same time and sort of cross-referencing them.
Let me hold one of those.
Oh, thank you, Sadar. Yes, I think this is right. We should stray off the path here, if you forgive such a foreboding term. I think we should head east, more or less due east. And we should come, if the reports are correct. He kind of flips over a piece of parchment that has like some kind of what looks like kind of guidance and coordinates written on it, and lots of little notes. You think from someone who's maybe been exploring near here or something, and it looks it's not a copy. It's definitely something someone scrawled on. Yes, just east from here. We want to look for a large clearing, I think. And from the sound of it, just more significant ruins. And that, that could be a site we can check. We'll see. And I have several possibilities as to what it might be. Some legends and the like, but I won't have any idea till we get there, really.
What time of day is it, Matt?
It is, let's say it's late morning.
Okay, well, no one gets out of Davokar for free. Askarite, you want to go up front?
Yeah, I'll take point.
I'll stay behind you and be my charming, silent self. My way of a distraction, if nothing else.
The underbrush, as you start to leave the path, becomes a little bit of a problem, especially for the donkeys, it has to be said. But you know what? Oddly, after about 10 minutes, that underbrush fades away, and larger rocks and stones and bits of old wall are nearby. And on a couple of them, you do see it's not intelligible. Not that any of you can read it anyway, but kind of unintelligible, damaged markings of old Symbaric script start to appear. So it does seem like, it's some kind of site. After a few more minutes travel in that direction, the underbrush really starts to sort of disappear rather unexpectedly. The trees start spacing out, and ahead of you, you can indeed see, and really not too far off the road, all told, what seems to be a wide open clearing in which there are numerous remnants. In fact, what I would call a field of ruins. No trees are growing in that area itself, only single isolated bushes and pale green grass that is seems to be swaying a little more than the wind might allow. And it looks as if most of Davokar's greenery has avoided or had a hard time taking root on the field. There are a lot of moss-covered, crumbled ruins here. Presumably some kind of town or city was on this site. And there is only one structure that you could even call relatively intact. It's definitely not intact, but more so than the others. It's a sort of multi-story building with a tower on the west-hand side of it, a tower that's mostly crumbled to the ground by now. And you know what? In kind of dimensions and size and the nature of it, not that your characters will understand this, but if you think of it as a kind of small cathedral-style structure, you wouldn't be far wrong with that kind of tower at the front. Yeah, but you're on the edge of this clearing, and you can see quite far into it. The clearing is maybe a kilometer or even more across, so you're quite away from the structure because it's more or less in the center of the of this clearing of pale green grass. And Ganderald, kind of as you emerge from the scattered trees, kind of looks around at you. Obviously, Asker eyes ahead and says, "Well, there we go. That's what was described here. So we're in the right place."
Good work, Ganderald. Now, let's try and find a way for it not to kill us all.
I would like to see about some witch site and see if I can get a feel for the vibes of the clearing as a whole, I guess. The location.
Absolutely. Sure. Well, why don't you then? Which site? You don't make a roll for it, right?
It's vigilant, modified by discreet, which I don't know. Well, I guess you.
Well, you know what? There will be some form of discrete modifier to that. So let's just have a look. See here. Okay, that's which site at a +1 then.
Ooh, so I need an 11, and I roll 14. So
never mind. And obviously, you take the temporary corruption for that, right?
Yes, I will do. Yeah. Well, I think I don't know. I believe the last adventure that we house rule it that if it fails, then
that's what we always do with.
I'm happy to take it on the attempt.
No. That would be breaking the precedent we've had since more or less the start of the campaign.
Okay.
So I'm just an idiot. So no, you don't really get any good sense or kind of portents or odd visions or visual effects in this place. It just looks what it is, which is faintly like it sort of feels oddly still in the middle of the forest. You can still hear bird calls and sort of things moving in around in the forest nearby as you normally would, but this feels very oddly still.
Yeah, I think even without a successful witch sight vision, I'm going to file this place under quite clearly cursed in some way.
Sure.
I think Asker will definitely at least have his bow out before proceeding any further.
Sure. And how are we proceeding? Ganderald is more than happy to let you four determine the approach to such a place. He's no fool. He's wary. And just like he did in the sinkhole, he's more than happy to follow your lead.
That structure in the center.
Yeah.
Looks like
Asker, do you want to pull back a bit and Lindra?
Yep. I'll take at the front with you. I think we'll just approach this slowly and carefully.
Yeah, I mean, this might be your first cursed church in the forest, but hopefully it won't be the last.
When you've seen one cursed place of worship, then you've seen one cursed place of worship.
I don't suppose there's any sort of record in the scrolls about what we should be careful of.
Yeah. Do you have anything by way of context, Ganderald?
I mean, not until I know which one of the potential sites we are. I can give you a rundown of the 12 of them if you want. Please don't ask him to.
Yeah.
I thought we were visiting 2 sites.
Oh, we are. These are the places we need to go. I just don't know what they are. They may be none of these.
Is there anything that describes a large site, the size of a town or settlement?
Yes, 12 of them.
Oh, they all match this description. Okay.
Yes,
look.
I have. This may be one of 12 or none of them at all, and the other site, a little fewer, one of 7 or none of them at all.
Okay.
It's unimportant for my duties here. It's just it might help you.
Yes, no, it's important in that it will help us know what we're dealing with. So if any clues come up that help you narrow that list down, please do let us know.
I will speak up straight away. Don't you worry.
Thank you.
Okay, well, we may as well knock because, the Order of Magic is as good at keeping secrets as we are.
Sure. So you
stride off ahead.
You said you're approaching this place kind of slowly and cautiously. Would you actually say that as stealthily or just confidently and slowly?
We're crossing a massive clearing in broad daylight, right?
Sure, yeah.
Also, it's Alindra and Steo in points. We're basically an ice cream cart.
This is not a stealth mission.
No, absolutely. I think that is fine. Well, then, as you are approaching, Alindra and Steo, can you please give me a vigilance +1 roll each, please?
Sure. I need to check my vigilant. Just check my vigilant, of course. It's the one I did for the last roll. I passed.
Okay, then Steo does not notice this, but Alindra, that building ahead, it looks like maybe to you it used to have many more stories than it does, including that tower at the front. But all that remains now are 2. There's, a ground floor and an upper floor that you can see, and all the rest has crumbled. And even that upper floor seems to be in rough shape. Nevertheless, as you are moving across the clearing, you glimpse momentary movement at what used to be a window on that upper floor. The figure moves kind of out of your sight fairly quickly, but you seemed to register someone who looked human and looked to be wearing not, kind of quite generic travel clothing.
Okay, I will sort of signal to everybody else, and say very quietly, "There's movement on the second floor there. Human, I think."
Oh my! You think someone mundane?
Perhaps some other traveler has got here first. I'm just saying
Should
we're
we
not
announce
alone.
ourselves?
I sort of looked to Steo. How far are we? Are we sort of within shouting distance? Or
Yeah. Let's say you're about maybe 50 feet away from where. Now that you're closer to it, you can see that along the broad side of this building, there's like a little set of steps leading up to a sort of like a dais, I guess, or a platform on the side, or a veranda, I suppose, on the side, on this broad side of the building. And there's a set of very old battered wooden doors leading inside, which are kind of ajar, but they may have been ajar for centuries. You don't know. And yeah, you're about 50 feet away from that, so definitely within shouting range.
I think whoever's in there saw us, so I see no reason not to announce ourselves. If they're friendly, I would rather they came out and we had a conversation, rather than have to go in and deal with whatever traps they may have set, or ambush, or misunderstanding.
Okay. Aaron, I suppose it falls to you.
Who has the loudest voice?
All right.
Well, who has the surname?
I will move to the front and I suppose just shout, "Hello there. Good morning."
There is sort of silence for maybe 20 seconds or so, and then in what it has to be said is not a particularly intimidating shot. An arrow arcs out from one of those top windows. You think it's intentionally missing you, and it crests a kind of very low parabola down from the window. Ascarai, it's pretty poor. And it sinks into the grass, maybe a full 15 feet in front of you, Aaron. And a voice calls out from the ruins saying, "Just so you know what you're dealing with."
Thank you. That's very informative.
Well, look now. I will come out and we can have a chat. But don't be getting any ideas, or the field will be full of them.
Thank you, sir.
Mission accomplished.
At this point, a man comes out from those doors on the side of the ruin. He looks, in all honesty, maybe a little bit worse for wear. He's wearing kind of, again, general traveling clothes that aren't in particularly good shape. Has a somewhat ragged and half-shaved, unwashed appearance to him. And he strides down the steps with the swagger of a tavern brawler, and strides over to about basically where the arrow is ahead of you. He has kind of like, not rags, but like cloth, like tied around his head and tied around his forehead, and seems to be like sweating quite a bit, not in a weird, corrupted, horrible way, but just clearly looks like someone who's been engaged in some kind of exercise, and sort of sticks his thumbs into his belt and says, "All right, you introduce yourself first."
Does he look like the person I saw in the window?
He might be.
Okay.
But you're not sure, really.
Okay. I was trying to get a vibe for whether he might be alone or
Sure, yeah.
party in there, but okay.
I am Arindar.
Fancy.
My associates and I are here to investigate these ruins from an academic standpoint.
Are you now? Academic, is it? Well, I'm Lamando, and me and my boys were here first. What do you say to that?
I look to Ganderold.
Gandalf just shrugs and says, the Audio Magica has no claim on these places.
Then I would say, well done, sir. Would you mind if we have entry and recognize your claim?
Of course I bloody mind if you had entry. I'm not stupid. Come here armed into Davakar. Got some kind of scholar with you. You're after the treasures in there as much as we are.
We're not looters. You don't come into Davakar with a donkey covered with half a library to loot the place. We need to recognize your claim.
I'm sure that plenty could fit on that donkey on the way back.
Our agreement with the Audio Magica was that they would be allowed to examine anything recovered and that we would be allowed to keep it. I'm sure that if you would allow our scholar here and perhaps one or two accompanying fellows to lend him aid, then they would be willing to honor the same agreement with yourself.
No. That's not to say an agreement can't be reached. But I'm not turning my back on you, nor my boys' backs inside that ruin. He appears to be kind of thinking something through. You can have it for payment. And that's a good deal. We've done the lion's share of the work in there. You look like a fancy lad with your friends with their big swords, big spears. That scholar at your back, you can afford it. Almost paying for the labor, innit?
And to what extent payment would you suggest, sir?
He's kind of looking you over and seems to be primarily basing his assessment on what he thinks of how you are equipped. 200.
I look to Ganderold.
Ganderold says, we funded coming here. I have no such money to pay for access to the ruins. Good stuff in there. I have it on good account. Treasures. We've broken most of the way down below. You could do the rest. Pick the bones, and me and my boys go away happy with 200 thaler.
And turn over everything you found
Last
already.
time we had to pay for access to artifacts.
We've found nothing. We haven't even made our way in yet. We've done most of the work to it.
Then how can you be sure it's worth 200 thaler?
Because people have reported other finds here. And there's a path down below, and no one's taken it yet. What do you think? It's Davakar, isn't it? It's a ruin. There'll be something down there. And I'm thinking, we take the money, we're not taking the risk. And we've still made a profit from our days here. No one wants a fight out of this.
Would you allow... go ahead, Alindra.
200 thaler is a high price for not having a fight.
Not having a fight and getting whatever's down there.
Look, Ganderold, unless you're writing a note for this 200 thaler is just not money we've got.
I mean, it definitely is.
It's not. What? It's not money I've got.
Between all four of you, surely.
I've got less than 50.
I would also note that no one's tried to negotiate with him yet.
Well, this is what I'm starting.
Okay, that's fine.
I need to know how far down we can negotiate to before I start. Would you allow a moment for us to deliberate, sir?
Look, you take the time you need.
I'll head back over to the group. Get in the huddle.
What's a reasonable price for us to not get bloody over this? 20?
20 is 20 days labor for a single person. Well, no, it's not. It is more than that. But 20 thaler for access to a ruin, no one would ever take that. If they come out of there with less than 20 thaler, and if it has anything, it'll definitely be way more than 20 thalers worth.
Okay. So this hinges on essentially whether or not the ruin's already been picked clean.
I mean, they said that no one's been down there because they're trying to make their way through, but you don't know. You don't know what's inside.
I think at the very least we should ask us. I think we should at the very least ask to see what is inside before we agree to paying any amount of money. These people? Do we really think we couldn't?
This lad's a street hustler.
Well, he said that they haven't managed to make it all the way down yet.
I tell you that the black is white if it would part you with 100 thaler, mate. Look, here's the crack. I'll put in 20 thaler.
I don't have 20 thaler.
I'm not asking people to match it. I'm asking us to turn that from a stupid number that he's well within his rights to cut us down for to something a wee bit more acceptable.
I can match 20 thaler.
I can put in perhaps 10.
5.
So what's that altogether? 55?
55.
Ganderald, I hope you brought some pocket money.
I'd hope to use this for accommodation. He's kind of rustling at the side of one of the donkeys and says, "Look, I'm the one who picked this site, so it's maybe largely my fault that I can make it up to 100. It's a round number, right? Round numbers impress small people.
They can take 100 thaler, or they can die haggling for more.
Oh, come on. This is a street hustle. We tell them 50. We try and get in under 100.
There's no need for violence.
Okay, well, the alternative, Ganderol, is to walk away, and I'm happy to do that as well. I don't want to kill these people. But we're at an impasse. What?
Non-lethal violent options.
I don't understand.
Cost you extra.
The more we talk about potential violence in the earshot of this man, the worse it could go. Please, look. He passes over a little pouch that jingles with the sound of 45 thaler. Or 55?
45.
No, 45 thaler, and says, see if he'll take this.
Let's hope he does.
Okay. We go in at 50. We try and get in under 100.
I think we were offering 100 to him.
No. The street hustle, mate. We gotta.
Okay.
Yeah, you never offer your max on the first.
Sure.
Otherwise, they'll negotiate you.
It's a haggle.
Sure. Well, who's doing the haggling?
I am willing to try.
For that.
All right. I straighten up, move back into negotiating position, and say, we can spare 50 thaler.
I've got 7 lads in there.
Then that is 7 thaler each. How long have you been here?
Days. 7 thaler. Piss on that.
All right. would you like to suggest a counter offer?
Aye, I would. 200 thaler. If you want to engage in further negotiations with him, John, why don't you roll persuasion, please, and let me find a counter stat for you.
While they're do that. I was just going to say while they're talking and negotiating, I was just going to give a meaningful look to Ascarai, which hopefully conveys the idea of, if this doesn't go to 100, like, would you like to open proceedings?
Get ready to murder this man that we're negotiating with.
Yeah.
I'd also I hedged this entirely on the assumption that John has better persuasion than anyone else in the group.
Yeah, that might be a mistake.
I think persuasion's his dump stat.
It's not my dump stat.
Fantastic.
Okay.
It's
What
not
is
my
it, though?
strongest. 11.
Okay.
Oh, that's much better than mine was.
You're making the roll at a
Okay.
+5.
Oh,
Nice.
okay, cool. Now there's too much pressure. Oh, God.
You're the new Anton.
It's
Target
bad.
was 16 and I rolled a 19.
Don't forget, you can spend an XP.
I think I'm going to do that.
Go for it.
I don't really want this to go to violence. Three.
All right.
Yay.
And how do you try and haggle this? Like, what's your tack? You don't have to say it just broadly. What approach you take?
There's
So
some
this is
murderers
where
back there.
This is where I reveal that I am a terrible negotiator. I think my tack is probably something along the lines of, yes, there's 7 of you, but who's to say that once you get into wherever it is, that it's not trapped and they'll, like, is your life really worth the extra thaler? How many
Sure.
of your men have to die?
Sure. Okay. Spent a lot of time here to come away with a pittance. But I will take your point. I'm not taking 50, though. What do you suggest? How much have you got? Because I see more than 50 held in those bags.
$100?
Done. Aaron, expert negotiator from a range of 50 to 100, going 50? 100?
It worked.
It did work.
Oh my God, you've just burnt so much money.
All right. You toss that money over here at my feet. And no funny business from that changeling with a bow.
I will do as instructed.
He picks up the bags and kind of hefts them and walks back and says, all right, we've reached an agreement. Come out. Someone bring my bloody pack. Over the course of the next couple of minutes, 7 similarly rough-looking individuals emerge from the ruin, one of them hefting kind of like what is obviously the pack of Lamando. And they emerge out and kind of gather on those stairs, kind of shooting kind of glances at you. A couple of them have bows. All of them are armed. And Lamando kind of like walks away from the group a little bit and says, all right, we're going to travel back to the road now. So if you step aside, we'll make our way off. Good doing business with you.
Safe travels.
Are you doing as suggested and kind of moving your donkeys to one side so they can head out?
Yes.
None of them are like obviously carrying like
huge
bags of stuff.
No, not at all. Like they have packs. They have packs, but they're fairly small and nothing is. I mean, they could have stuff in their packs, you suppose, but nothing seems particularly. No. As they kind of pass, Lamando sort of lags behind a little bit and says, "Since we've made an accommodation, I'll give you something for free. The base of that tower there, we were clearing out access to a door. Might be a good place to start. There's some stairs down on the other side as well. But there's some kind of... It's not an easy way through. Didn't want to mess with it. You'll see what I mean."
Thank you.
If there's nothing in there, I'm going to come and find you in Thistlehold. Just so you know.
Oh, to buy me a drink? That's nice of you.
I think at this point it's you who owes us a few drinks.
Yeah, well, if you come looking for me in Thistlehold, maybe I'll buy you one, Elfborn.
Safe journey.
He turns around with a last glance at Ascarai and strides out of the clearing with all of his men.
50 to 100 dar? Seriously?
It's lower than 200.
It's
200 was... Oh, okay. Well, if we get back alive, you and me are going to Market Square, and I'm teaching you how to buy things.
I know how to buy things. You exchange coins for goods and services.
100% what they're worth. Oh, God, there better be something incredible in it.
Okay, so at this point, we're going to use a lovely Fog of War map system, folks, courtesy of the fine people at Owlbear Rodeo. No, it's not sponsored, which it's what we chose to use. This is the base of the ruin, as you can see it. Those steps leading up to that kind of front dais. I have no idea why they put the directional compass that way and didn't just turn it all around. But for whatever reason, that's what they've done. So yeah, you are approaching now from the north to the west side, i.e. the right-hand side of this map. There is the base of the tower, and there is that doorway ahead of you.
Well, I suppose we head for the door
Let's
they
go
mentioned.
look at what they left, at least in the upper levels.
Yeah.
Sure. As you proceed in, and you do are you fairly comfortable that if they were monkeying around on these floors, that there's probably, are you fairly confident in this? I'm trying to establish how much we have to kind of creep room to room and how much I can be a bit more fluid with it.
I think to get on the ground floor, I think Ascar would not be very cautious. No, they'd literally just come out of this door, like the front door.
Sure.
I would just sit and think briefly about to what extent may they have had time to set traps before they came out. But it sounds like they weren't very long.
No, they weren't. Not at all.
Okay. Then yeah, it's probably fine.
Okay. Well then, folks, let's have you enter into this place, and I will reveal bits of it and describe them a little bit. So this first room that you enter, and assume that every room in this place, there's rubble on the floor, there's desiccated remains of old furniture made from wood or some kind of cracked stone, or even bits of twisted and bent iron. But this front room is quite a small one, kind of like a little, reception room of some kind, may have been. And you move through that fairly swiftly and into this, which seems to be an entry hall of some kind with a grand set of stairs, or what was a grand set of stairs sweeping upwards to the upper floor. There are plenty of pits and holes in it, but those stairs are still very much traversable. The base of the floor here is covered in a kind of light dusting of sort of dirt and soil, but nothing too kind of deep to bury anything or obscure anything significantly.
What's the story with the walls? Are they unadorned or covered in Symbaric graffiti? Or
there's like you can see where maybe there were kind of murals or Symbaric script on them at one point, but it's also battered and faded that really very, very little can be made of it.
How like ornate does this building might it have been once?
Quite ornate, but not kind of like palatial, if you get that what I mean.
Okay, so
certainly well off.
Okay, so I mean, I know it's a real world reference, but you kind of mentioned small cathedral coming in, but like something like that. It's a status building, right? It's a
of some kind. I mean, but what you're seeing here is certainly the layout. Is maybe not what you'd expect, I suppose, from your gut from a ceremonial building, but from like a residence or maybe some kind of official building.
Okay.
Like it doesn't feel, it feels more functional from what you've seen so far.
I'll kind of walk over towards the left door fairly casually and turn around to Ganderald and go, "No clues yet, I suppose, Mage?"
Well, none that I can see, certainly, but there's a whole building to explore, I'm sure.
Onwards, then.
I'll go to the left door. Is it a door or is it just an
It's
opening?
not. It's as on the map. It's just an opening leading to what looks like a corridor. They've lost Chris.
Yeah.
There we go. It is an opening leading to a corridor, Chris.
I'll take a look in that corridor then and just kind of maybe as I get further into this building, just getting slightly more careful. But once again, assuming until recently these lads were literally living here. So I assume it's going to be in reasonable state.
Sure. This area certainly does seem to be. It is a series of small rooms with doors, all of which are ajar. You can't really tell what it was. Like I say, there was furniture and like just bits and pieces of old, cracked, desiccated stuff around. I guess you won't be able to see my mouse, but you see at that top corridor there that's like leading off to the upper but southerly part of it. There seems to be a large drift of dirt and stones and bits of vegetation that has partially swamped that end of the corridor. You still can like clamber over it and get to the other side of whatever it is, but it's definitely like a big heaped amount of dirt and stones. It looks like some stones and dirt have been kind of like cleared away a bit over to one side and put in a messy pile, as if someone's been kind of digging in it. You don't know whether to clear it or to try and find something. But it's notable that presumably the room beyond is in a bit of a worse state than these ones. Did you say you've got Ganderald accompanying with you?
Yeah, I think I'm going to try and pull everyone along.
Sure.
Yeah, I'll certainly be following immediately behind Theo.
Yeah, absolutely. As you go through there, then Ganderald kind of like bends over and looks at some Symbaric script, kind of halfway up a wall, and goes, "Ah, yes, slave quarters."
Well, does that narrow us down from the 12?
Not really. The Symbaric society was rather brutal, I'm afraid.
Guess we have to climb that muck mountain ahead of us then. Ascarai, do you feel like seeing if you can find a safe way over?
I can try and scramble past it. Doesn't seem like we'll find much that's worth 100 thaler in the slave quarters.
Yeah. Still, okay. I'd rather know that I know everything behind me.
Absolutely. So Ascarai is going to try and scramble through. Ascarai, can you give me a? I can never remember what is the kind of agile. Is quick the kind of agile?
I think we normally use quick.
Yeah. Can you give me a quick roll then, please? And it's not a difficult one. Let's say it's at a +3.
Okay. I think my quick is Let me check it. I think it's 11. So I'll need... Oh, my quick is 10. I need a 13 or less. I get a 6, so I make it.
Absolutely. It's not difficult to do, and you can kind of scrape your way over the top and kick a couple of stones aside. And once you've cleared the way a little bit, it's quite easy for other people as well. You emerge out onto the other side, where you find a chamber that is really swamped with more soil, stones, detritus, bits of vegetation, and so on. And you can tell why, because as soon as you scrabble through, it's a lot brighter in this area than in the others. And as you look up, you see that the kind of floor above has completely collapsed and given away in this part of the lower floor, and all that kind of vegetation and dirt has kind of swept in through the through the hole that leads up to the open sky of kind of the afternoon in Davakar. It is starting to softly snow, by the way.
I'll kind of cool. Well, if they haven't followed me through yet, I'll kind of call back and say it's even more ruined in here, but you can still make it through.
It's got other exits, has it?
Yeah, there's ways through, more or less.
Yeah, those doors on either side are accessible with but only because someone has been through here and cleared away the dirt and the stuff down to. And there's a good, when I say there's dirt here, it's a good 2 or 3 feet. You cannot see the floor in any way at all, and anything could be down there, really. In fact, people have, as they've cleared those as well, again, you see signs that bits of rocks and vegetation and the topsoil have been cleared away to one side, as maybe they've been trying to dig their way down somewhere, but maybe not finding anything yet or at all.
So I'll definitely commit to this room then. I'll scramble over.
Sure, absolutely.
100 thalers, a lot of money to clear some dirt out of a few rooms.
Yeah.
A lot of money to walk away from clearing dirt out of a few rooms.
Jeez, I'd walk away from anything in Davakar for 100 thaler. We were robbed.
Mm-hmm.
What's this door on the left then? How screwed up is it?
It's fine. It is shut too, but it's clearly not locked or anything, and you can open it if you want. It's an old desiccated wooden door.
I'll give it a poke and take a look inside.
Okay. Inside, you find a much more intact and less choked with vegetation and detritus room. It's just a small chamber with a set of stone steps leading downwards. There is no light down there at all. So you're going to need a torch or lantern of some kind if you want to find your way around there a bit better.
Find some of the stairs down. Were these the ones he mentioned that were uncanny?
Maybe.
I assume so.
Yeah, he kind of said that there wasn't really a way forward, and he said that you'll see what he means. But yeah, you assume that this would be a good bet for assuming this is the ones, because it's the other end from the tower, which is where he said they'd be clearing to a doorway.
I wouldn't mind seeing what he means. Ganderol, do you want to come and take a look with me, given this? If this is something, I'll be unpacking a torch and rag at the minute. If this is something blocking our way.
Yeah, absolutely. So, who else? Is it just Theo and Ganderold going down there, or?
I'll go down as well.
Anyone else?
Happy to troop down.
Okay.
I just want to test the waters. I'm not going all the way in. If there's something weird down here, I'd rather have it known and behind me.
I suppose I'll stay in case something tries to come down the stairs after you. I doubt it, but...
Give us 5 minutes.
Okay. Incidentally, I'll say that the donkeys are both hitched up to kind of the remnants of stone furniture in that first room you entered. Well, the one labelled 1 with the stairs. Sure. Ganderold kind of carried an unlit torch with him from them, and says, "Well, I'll hold it, shall I?" just like in the sinkhole, eh?
Yeah, do you know what? Fair enough.
All right. Gentlemen, he gestures towards the steps down.
I'll take point, I suppose.
Okay. You step down those stairs. They don't lead you far, and you find yourself in an underground cellar, kind of definitely still kind of constructed. And I'm sorry, I'm switching maps here a little bit. I'm actually not going to switch maps as such, for you anyway, because but you find yourself in a cellar room. It's completely empty, kind of no remnants of any kind here, and there is a door on the west wall, so leading back in the direction towards the tower. The door here seems to be in a little bit better shape than those above, presumably less kind of harshly treated by the elements, and not much soil and detritus has made its way down here.
Do I need to move the map screen at all?
No, it's fine. It's fine for now.
Okay.
So I don't know what he meant.
Let's take it off screen, but we won't. Thank you.
So what worries me the most is that I don't know what he means by "you'll know what I mean." So I think I'm going to try this door. Yeah. I'll go.
All right. The door creaks open and nothing else happens. Beyond is what seems to be a fairly long underground corridor that you can see. There are twin doors, not paired doors, on each side of the corridor at two places. So 4 doors in total leading down. And beyond that, kind of like your torch doesn't light the end of the corridor, so it carries on further than you can see.
In for a shilling, in for a thaler, I suppose. I don't get what dissuaded them from looking into this in more depth, so they must have explored this far.
It is much colder down here. It's already quite cold up there in sort of the winter in Davakar. And there is definitely a kind of like, you can't hear the sounds of the forest anymore. As dim as they were from this ruin to the edge of the clearing, everything seems very, very still and quiet. So, you stepping forwards? Sure. You make it. The first set of doors are only a couple of paces beyond that one you opened up. You open up either side of them, and they seem to have been, a long time in the past, storerooms of some kind. You see the wreckage of shelving. You see the long ago wrecked and ruined wreckage of boxes full of food, maybe clothing material of some kind, other sort of supplies, everything, like the few recognizable items of food that remain are so horribly desiccated and collapsed in on themselves that obviously it's been here so long that nothing of any value could possibly have survived in these crates. And they're basically wreckage on the floor anyway. But both of the rooms are like that. You do not, a cursory search reveals nothing of any value whatsoever.
Onwards.
Onwards, and as you move forwards, once you're flush with kind of those second set of doors, can we have a vigilant roll? And I'm just going to ask it from... Well, Arendar is still up top. I think the 3 of you can all make it. Let me just check the modifiers there. Where have we? What are we doing? Where is this? Oh, you know what? Let's go with just a flat vigilant roll from all 3 of you, actually, then.
Needed 10, got an 11.
Oof.
So if I'd had Witch Sight turned on, that would have been good. But like just looking at stuff, not so much.
I got a 9, which makes it.
Okay. Ascarai, just ahead down the corridor is a sort of, I mean, it's all stone, but there is kind of a stone, almost like a door frame, but it runs all the way along the base, up the walls, and across the ceiling, like a dull grey stone frame almost surrounding the corridor. Like it's flush against the wall. There's no like way around it on either side. It just looks empty to you. It just looks like this odd kind of stone protrusion. Maybe where a door once was, although it's coming up a bit from the floor, so that seems like an odd thing to you. Yeah.
And there's nothing. It's not like dirt or rocks or in it.
No.
Seems like there's some kind of entranceway ahead. Maybe we should check these doors first then.
The doors that you can check, identical to the other two rooms, just more storage chambers. And it's like I say, I'm assuming at this point you're not like, patting down every wall and like looking between every flagstone, but a cursory search, reveals centuries old just supplies and storage that have gone to horrible remnants.
If Ascarai has spotted this weird frame and we know that there is some strangeness of some sort down here, can I have another go?
Give yourself a witch sight roll, absolutely.
Cool. Is that +1 like it was outside?
No, because that was based on what I was actually doing is seeing if you saw the flicker of the shadows of the treasure hunters inside the thing.
Okay.
And their discreet was at 11. But you know what? You know where you're looking and what you're looking at. So I'll give you a +3 just for the fun of it.
Lovely. I rolled a 2.
There we go. As the others are investigating the storage rooms, you step a little closer to that kind of ring of stone around the corridor. And just for a second, you kind of like Ganderald is standing nearby. He's not looking where you're looking. He's like just holding the torch up so that Ascarai and Steo inside one of the storage rooms can look a bit clearer. But just from the glint of that torch ahead, just momentarily and briefly, you see what seems to be a huge hunched figure, like almost the size of the corridor, just kind of like hunched over, curled slightly, looking like ever so briefly like nothing but a huge sort of swollen man made of stone, like I say, hunched in an odd curled position there, almost entirely occupying the ring of the frame, not moving, not acknowledging your presence in any way. It almost feels like it isn't real. Like just this flash.
So this is
it's gone.
This is only there, like when I'm looking at shadows, right? This is not physically.
Yeah. This is just your witch sight. It's like there and then it's gone. You get the feeling if you invoked your witch sight again, you might see it again, but it's not there doesn't seem to be there in a physical sense. Give yourself your temporary corruption, by the way.
Yeah. I've done that.
There's something there.
I will announce this. There is something in the frame, but yet not there, but there.
Oh. Ganderald kind of steps forward, and as he does so, Ascarai and Steo, you lose the light in the storage room, and like you can still see the doorway to it because you're not lost. You can just still see the light in the frame of the door. And he says, "Oh, what does it look like?"
Something large and humanoid, but big and hunched.
Any other details about it?
Like perhaps I got the sense of stone.
Like it was made of stone.
Perhaps.
Have you got anything I could throw?
look around for some pebbles or something on the floor.
Yeah, there'll be something along those lines.
I'll hand it to Ganderald.
Give him a Thal or a Lindra. We're throwing those around a lot today.
Ganderald kind of hefts and kind of lobs a little handful of pebbles, which it's like throwing pebbles against a wall. They just kind of like tinker off nothing within that frame and kind of scatter down to the floor.
But nothing that corresponds with about where I thought I saw the thing.
Yeah, exactly there. Yeah,
that's the thing.
Huh. Some kind of mountain spirit, perhaps. Fascinating.
Well, he was right. We know it when we saw it. Except, no, he wasn't right because we haven't seen it.
Well, I saw
I
it.
want my money back.
Ganderald is like sort of cautiously approaching the thing, or the nothing, as far as you're concerned, and sort of turns the torch around to the base and just kind of. There's no sound, but the end of his torch, he like registers something solid.
Is there any like react? Can we see anything where it hits?
No, nothing at all.
Okay.
He kind of reaches out.
Don't anger the mountain
cautiously.
spirit.
Inert.
Does this narrow down any of your 12 cities?
Not really.
Towns? Any of them could have an invisible mountain spirit in the basement of the administrative building.
I'm not entirely sure it's an administrative building, but I mean, feasibly. The descriptions don't exactly go into that much detail, Alindra.
Do you know of any way for us to get past it?
Perhaps it's a shame we don't have Father Anton. I don't know if he has some kind of exorcism ritual he might have been able to perform.
Maybe
things like this, they're usually bound to something. But I can't really see anything.
Must be the door frame then. It'll be the door frame?
What,
it's stone?
This stone here? I don't know. It seems rather functional to me. I mean, we're welcome to have a look.
I will examine the stone, the frame.
By all means, can you give me a vigilant roll, please, at -5?
Eesh. Oh, I needed a 5 and I got a 5. Wow.
Oh dear. I didn't think it was that surprising, but
no. It's the shock.
Oh, there's a horrible coughing noise. So you find within that kind of stone frame that goes all the way around the corridor, you notice a thin silver wire kind of embedded in it in a little like gully, I suppose, around the center of the thing. There's a thin silver wire just traced flush against the side all the way around.
I will motion to Ganderald and point it out.
Oh, good eyes. It could certainly be that. Silver is a potent metal, and the Symbaric people often used it with... Never mind. It seems quite difficult to... Do we want to mess with this? Yet,
are we going
without a wider understanding?
Are we going to unleash something that might have unfriendly intent if we break that cord?
It seems a reasonable precaution to take, does it not?
I think it would be unlikely, but not impossible.
I think we should get out of the cellar and go and check the rest of this building and then come back here with fresh eyes.
Agreed.
Seems very wise. Very wise. Well then, Ganderald seems quite happy to be leaving the cellar, and presumably you all troop back up to where Arendar has been waiting. Very patient.
Yep.
We made an invisible friend, Aaron.
I heard voices, but I didn't think I heard anyone else's.
It hasn't really spoken to us.
Oh.
It's very there, though, in a not there sort of way.
So if they were invisible and silent, how did you know they were there?
They were in the way.
Oh.
They
Yes,
were
that
not
makes sense.
ephemeral. That's the word, isn't it?
They were corporeal.
Did you try asking them to move?
Not yet. Figured we'd, before we did anything too drastic, we'd maybe get our bearings in the rest of the structure first.
And speaking of that, I suppose, let's bring this back up. So you've emerged up from the stairs and into that room 4 there, the one sort of full of dirt and detritus that's been that people have kind of been digging in to a certain degree. And that doorway you haven't gone through on the west wall, which is of course our right-hand side, is definitely accessible and is in fact slightly ajar.
Head through there.
Okay. In that case, let me open up that room for us. Here we go. As you can see, quite a large room, and what seems to have been maybe a well-appointed one. Perhaps a receiving room or salon of some kind. A lot of very kind of large furniture here, which is now, essentially wreckage on the floor. Not much in the way of dirt and vegetation. You're mostly walking across kind of like flagstones lightly dusted with soil and detritus. There is a passageway at the end of the room, as you can see off to the west, presumably looks to be leading to where the tower is. But noticeable on the south wall is a large, not carving, frieze, I suppose, or bas relief of what seems to be a large tree. And if anyone wants to roll their cunning, like with various modifiers I'll give you for what kind of tree it is, I'm more than happy for someone to do that.
I think I'll start with maybe a friendly elbowing Ganderald and go, come on, look, that must narrow it down.
Oh, maybe it does. Is anyone going to, are we just going to rely on Ganderald for it?
I had a try, and my conclusion is it's probably some kind of a tree.
Sure, absolutely.
I'll have a go.
You have a go. Okay, well, I'll give your cunning roll. I'll give you a +2 because you're a woodland kind of guy.
Okay. I need a 12. I got a 2.
It is a cypress tree.
Does that mean anything to me?
What's a cypress?
You tend to get cypress trees in more kind of marshy wetland, I believe. Could be wrong. Aren't they a kind of like, Everglades type tree? Let's have a look at a cypress tree. Maybe they're not. Maybe I'm full of shit. No, I think I am completely full of shit. There we go. No, because it's a fucking conifer. So definitely not. No, they're like I don't know.
So there are different. I mean, there's different types. There are some that are Mediterranean and like dry, and then there are some that like wetlands and riverbanks.
Oh, yeah. Okay, that is what I was thinking of. I've seen a bald cypress, which is those ones like in the Everglades with the big, like wide, gnarled roots that dig down into the water. But given the climate here, you know what? I'll go with something more kind of coniferous looking, like a really big, bulbous, fat Christmas tree. Essentially is what you're looking at there on the wall, but you can just know it as a cypress. It's fine.
I don't know how much the core books get into the various sort of species of flora in Davocon.
They do not. They do not. So.
It's reasonable to assume they're not exact analogues of.
No, definitely not. Yeah,
it's some species of big conifer. Cool.
Watching.
Ascarai, are you identifying it as a cypress?
I might say some kind of cypress tree. I don't know if that means anything to you.
Cypress. But one second. Gandrold kind of dashes off to like clamber over that dirt in the room you just came through, and you hear him kind of pattering off down corridors, presumably towards the donkeys.
Oh, just running off. We're in Davokar, in a Symbaroum ruin, and he runs off on his own. If he hadn't already survived more than a day, I'd give him a day.
Matt, since we're are the stairs in room 1, do they like they in the room? Do they go anywhere? They don't go into room 2.
Oh, those stairs in the first room? No, they went up onto the partially ruined second floor.
Okay.
They look like real steep stairs in that.
Sure, yeah. They probably are quite steep. Well, before many more moments have passed, you hear the sound of Ganderald returning, clambering over the pile dirt in that room and into the one you're in. He has a small tome with him, kind of just a little, folio. Are they folios? They're about that big. And he sort of scrambles into the room and is like flicking between the pages quite enthusiastically, and eventually settles and says, "Here we yes, cypress, the copper cypress. Yes, this might be the answer right here. So the sorceress Menandra Nayar lived about a millennium ago, around the time the empire began to crumble. One of the most accomplished Morphantics at the time. Great insights into life and death and the manipulation thereof. It's speculated that they saw themselves as creators of life, but perhaps more like mutilators. Flesh, blood, glands, and shapes that life has created. We have found records suggesting her success was not only due to hard work, tenacious studies, and an unnaturally long life, but also from the strength she gathered from the copper cypress, a crooked evergreen, berries coloured like tarnished copper, found by hunters. She convinced a monarch to make her the steward of the surrounding region. The tree was enclosed by a roundel of stone and the cave-given roof. Then she built her residence on top of it, with all the facilities she needed to create the life form she had promised her monarch.
So we could be looking for a tree in the basement.
Below it. I don't understand. They seem to have found the tree underground, but translating these things is not a precise science, and it is not me who has done it. It's inscriptions found 14 years ago.
But the tree is in a round underground structure with an above ground structure built on top of it. So it could
a stone rondel is the translation. These things could be wrong.
And this sorceress, human, elf,
Symbaric, so human.
Mucking around for life goes hand in hand with corruption.
I mean, maybe Morphantic is again a clumsy translation. A school of Symbaric mystics who shaped living things.
We've dealt with those before. It didn't turn out well.
No.
This place might be more corrupt than it at first appears.
But it does seem important, which is good if we're looking to recover our 100 thala.
Oh, I hate being in debt to cryptic temples.
Yeah, so the short translation of this sign is caution. Also, maybe look underground. Cautiously.
So, I mean, I emphasize that I cannot be certain this is actually the residence of Menandra Nayar.
Well, Ganderald, like, your suggestion is closer to a something than a nothing that we previously knew. So at least it is a framework around which we can build expectations.
Very well. Shall we proceed on? I don't think there's anything else to be found in this reception room.
As far as salons in Symbaroum go, this is probably one of my favorite. He says, striding for the exit of the door after delivering that crushing in joke for anyone who's been watching a while.
Ganderald says, I don't know, I could use a drink. I take it we're heading to the west part of the place. Sure. Well, what you find in there is a large, mostly open area. These walls that you can see in here are actually low walls that have crumbled apart to the point where I don't know why I made that a separate thing. You can see all of this now. This is the base of the tower. And the tower above, while for a couple of stories, the kind of ring, the wall of it is in place, all the floors have collapsed through. You've got the rubble of the walls there. You've got, very similar to the room by the stairs down, you've got big piles of dirt and rocks and moss and vegetation that have overgrown almost the entire floor here. You can barely see anything that even resembles like the actual flagstones, and clearly the former inhabitants here, the people you paid off to leave, took several attempts at like digging little trenches down to presumably look for treasures or anything along those lines. And the only other thing of note you can see in this area, and it's quite notable, is that one of their trenches in where that number 6 is on the map have uncovered a set of spiral stone stairs leading downwards, which even a cursory examination by kind of like peering into the hole reveals the shine of a metal door at the base of it. So it seems that guy was telling the truth.
Well, if I had a couple of days, I'd say we might find something if we dug in this rubble, but I'd say down is probably the best way.
We're looking for this tree.
Well, we're looking for
Actually, do we want to just... Yeah, do we want to just... Let's just clear out the second floor, just on the off chance. I hate leaving unknowns at my back ever since that sinkhole.
Yeah, let's be safe.
Okay. You can, of course, retreat through to that that first room again through this doorway that you've got here that leads on through. And as I said, you can definitely climb the stairs without any real danger becoming of you. But just for a second, can I ask that no one go look? You can stop sharing there for a second, John. And if people allow me the privacy of Owlbear Rodeo for a second as I switch maps and set it up. I'm just going to get some lovely fog in place there. Let's do that. Let's do that. And let's do that. Okay, there we go. You can share again, John. There, John. Lovely. So as you ascend, you come to sort of a very large open landing area on that upper floor. It is coated with yet more kind of dirt and rubble and vegetation, and you're kind of clambering over that. It's almost like traversing the forest floor, honestly, as you make your way over little hillocks of material that's blown in or landed in from the forest in some way. It's definitely reaching sort of late afternoon now. It's not quite going dark yet, but the sky is definitely not as light as it once was. And that soft snow has continued to fall, but doesn't seem to really be settling any further on the mostly unfrozen ground that you're essentially walking on. And as you can see, there is also an opening on the wall to the west there, to the kind of southwest. I just covered it up a bit with the fog.
Careful on the left. At least some of the floor had collapsed into the floor below.
Okay, well let's get a good look at this left then, while we're aware of the risks.
Okay, the immediate left that you've come up on, so the one that Ascarai was indicating, yeah?
Yeah,
Okay.
the east, I guess.
Yeah. So this bit here, yeah, it's the collapsed floor over the first dirty room. The first kind of dirt piled room that you found below. There's no navigating over this. It's just all fallen through.
Did you say that when I was looking at this from the outside that it looked like there had originally been more than 2 floors? Or...
Oh, yeah. You can tell there are like the walls around you extend up like in various places a floor or more, but like all the actual floor, has like tumbled down and is forming part of this rubble that you're now seeing, and maybe also rubble on the actual outside of the ruin itself.
Okay, so no particular sense of how many more floors that there might have been, or
you can't really tell. No,
it was taller. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I don't want to hang around near a collapsed floor, so I'm gonna head back and check in the room.
This next one down, kind of to the north, confusingly. Absolutely, and you can do that, and you find a little sort of number of chambers linked to each other here. These ones still have sort of a roof over them, at least mostly, so are largely clear of that kind of dirt and detritus that you noted before in various other places. What was I going to... There was an extra thing I wanted to say about this area.
Is there any furniture to speak of?
Yeah, you know what? Give me a cunning roll to work out what it might have been, because there's quite a lot around here, but it's quite disturbed and wrecked.
Any modifiers?
Yeah.
Okay, I need a 10. I get a 20.
Well then, let us say that as you're traversing around this area, Alindra, trying to get a sense of it, you are sort of like knocking some wreckage aside with your foot and slightly overbalance yourself, and the heel of your foot comes down with a rather impressive crunch on what was some kind of thin redstone tablet.
Oops.
I really hope that was not worth 100th hour.
It doesn't look very valuable, but it is covered in Symbaric script that looks mostly legible, or it was legible before you stomped on it. Now someone's going to have to play jigsaw puzzle.
I will call over Ganderald and say, I found some tablet fragments.
Ganderald kind of like jogs through and says, fragments?
Yeah, well, it looks like a tablet, but it looks broken.
The fragmentation looks very fresh.
Yeah, it must have been those bloody raiders.
Must have been. Did anyone else hear a crunch a few moments ago?
Alindra, do you want to lend me $100?
This seems like we're all just throwing around $100 like this. It's going out of fashion.
For the record, I didn't hear anything.
Neither did I.
Well, regardless. All right. Does someone want to give me a hand with this at least?
I'll help.
Okay, can you make me a cunning roll, please?
I shouldn't have volunteered.
Oh, no.
Any modifiers?
Nope.
Doesn't matter. That's a no.
Okay. Ganderald is...
Can I intercede and see how terrible a job Aaron's doing and offer some assistance?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. I mean, he's going to get a bit crowded around here beyond those two, but other than that, yeah.
Okay. I think my cunning's a little better. And I pass.
Okay, then. With Steo leading in and taking control of this absolute mess away from Arendar, between you and Ganderald, you managed to piece together the pieces of this red stone tablet. And as I say, it does not look valuable in any way. It looks like something that's kind of like fallen onto the ground here. And Ganderald kind of goes, well, that's, I suppose, somewhat unexpected. I think this must have been on the wall. Yes, it is something. It is something. Here, Dream, Domo, and Menandra, common dreams.
A funeral urn?
Or bedrooms?
Does rather look like a bed, doesn't it? A stone base here, a wooden frame. Here, Dream, Domo, and Menandra, common dreams.
That adds evidence to the fact that we might be in Menandra's house.
Perhaps this Domo was her partner, her husband.
Domo, her partner?
Fascinating.
A good sign.
Almost rather touching. I suppose that's a good find, Alindra.
You're welcome.
You should give your boots a pay raise. Come on, let's check the other side.
Do you think it would be worth anything, Ganderald?
A curiosity, perhaps. No inherent value. You can take it with us if you want.
I think we should.
At least it's flat packed.
So you troop yourself. I'm not going to dignify that. So you troop yourself across that landing area and take a peek through the opening on the other side. And for anyone who's had any kind of sense of spatial awareness around this thing, it is the upper part of the tower. It has completely collapsed through. There is nothing to navigate here. There's not much on this upper
that's
floor
a relief,
area.
I suppose.
Did we approach from the south?
You approached from the north, because that was where the stairs were into the room.
Okay. The person we saw, do we get the impression they would have been in one of these windows? Or the person that
you get the impression that they were. I know there's no openings on the side, but there will be like windows and stuff. For what it's worth, Elindra, you think that the person you saw through the windows was in the bedroom area.
Okay,
so you are like 99.9% sure it was one of those treasure hunters.
Yeah. So in like the little 8 or somewhere.
Yeah, somewhere near that. Yeah, there's like windows, or where there were windows out to the.
I will relay this to the party whilst cooking up some story about how it was probably that person that smashed the tablet. If Theo thinks about saying anything, I will give him a look.
Right. That's me satisfied. We can get on with the job now.
Yeah. Tower base?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's go check that.
Strange door down the stairs?
Yeah.
Okay.
Long history of having bad experiences with strange doors downstairs, but let's once more into the breach.
Okay, there we go then. Let's go down to this tower area. And since we're not exploring, you know what? I think we can bring it off if we're just looking at that metal door down the spiral stone steps. And I'm assuming we're kind of like making our way down there and just sort of, are we just trooping down those stairs and taking a look at it directly?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think so.
Well, that stairwell appears to have been cleared almost all the way to the bottom. There's just a few bits of packed dirt and large stones kind of on the very bottom couple of stairs. And you can see ahead of you a door of blackened metal. It's a bit dim down here, and Ganderol has sort of lit the torch again to give you a bit more light. The door is clearly quite strong and quite thick. It looks to be made of, as I say, some kind of blackened metal, so it hasn't really decayed or desiccated through the years. The only decoration on it of any kind is a sort of etching of what appears to be an hourglass, which is half the sand is on the top and half on the bottom. There is no handle.
That's a bit foreboding, isn't it? What do you make of it, Ganderol?
I mean, it may be magically sealed somehow. There are some writings on this upper frame, I think, just etched into it may be sealed by some form of word or phrase or action. This symbol here. I think. Well, here's a chance for a little bit of education, fellows. What do you think this symbol stands for here? I can almost guarantee you won't be able to guess what it meant to the Symbaric people.
Well, it means time to us.
Yeah, in a way, it meant that, but a very specific perception of it.
Mortality?
Not really. Anyone else? He's using a very kind of teacherly tone.
It's half empty, so is it some kind of moment of decision? Turning point?
You're not entirely off the mark, Theo. It is a moment a moment of stillness, of time standing still. What can make time standing still, fellows?
Love.
You were wasted as a sellsword, Steo. In the Symbaric attitude, this half descending hourglass means when I see you, time stands still. A lover's gate.
Intended only for some specific lovers?
Perhaps. We could try and force it if we don't
know
want
of
to.
2 lovers who are living here.
We do.
Maybe their names. If it
Maybe.
requires their presence, forcing it will be the only way.
Well, I'm willing to give up the place in front of the doorway if someone wants to try something.
Very generous of you.
Let me.
You are the man who made the very good guesses, Steo.
I was a family man before I was a soldier. So, Menandra and Domo.
As soon as you say the word Domo, the door creaks and cracks open.
Well done.
Good work, Thea.
My word, yes. Ha! It's exhilarating, isn't it? A puzzle solved. Puzzle solved by our large friend here with the spear. Very well done.
It's almost a bit much for me, lads.
So, is this a back door or a tunnel to Domo's residence?
Only one way to find out. Do we want to give it to the morning? Does it matter if we're underground?
Now that we've opened the door, I'd like to investigate immediately rather than stay nearby with this door open.
Yeah, we need to know what's in there, and then we need to figure out where and how we're going to spend the night.
Very, very well then. All right. If people can give me the map room again for 1 second, while I just lock.
Oh, that's what you mean. Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry. Never mind.
I don't know what you thought I meant, because I've said it before.
Yeah.
That was the opposite.
Yeah. Sorry.
Oh, did you literally bring it up?
Yeah, I thought that's what you meant. Sorry.
Fantastic. So,
for the record, if we can figure out how to make it work in future episodes, it's quite fun being able to do maps this way. But
yeah,
I think there are some usability things we might need to work out.
Absolutely. 1 second. Oh, god damn it. One of the problems is if you're switching between maps, you have to kind of like do the fog of war on the fly. And it's quite...
Yeah, you sort of want to be able to set it up beforehand and have it on by default.
Yeah. And I managed to do that with the first one, but...
Could you...
So, while we're waiting, chat's complaining about the strength of that password, and I'm going to say it may be terrible, but it's a lot better than just having your password be friend.
Shots
calling
fired.
you out, Tolkien. Calling you out.
Absolute shots fired.
I mean, it was a different time then, though, right? Like, you know,
it was a different time, and no one was going to find that the elf word for friend is melon. That's funny.
Yeah, like you have to remember this is before they had all of the kind of elven like translation wikis that they have in Middle Earth today.
Absolutely. So here we go. You find yourself in a small chamber at the bottom of this spiral stair with a door to the south of you. The environment and the door itself are very, very, very reminiscent of when you went down into the cellar on the other side. There's that
Eerily
stillness
cold.
and that coolness. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Is there anything in this little room?
No, it's completely empty.
Then I will try the door.
Okay. And in that case, he says, flicking over to the thing, you find yourself in a small, again, unnotable chamber. Maybe there was furniture here at one point, but it's clearly gone now. And I'm going to say that door ahead of you is actually open, hence you being able to see the little corridors out on the other side of it. There doesn't seem to be anything in this room at all, other than some wreckage. Are you going to kind of proceed forwards through that corridor or take that turning to the left?
I think just for a moment, I'd like to have a listen at kind of the
sure.
the corner there.
Give me a vigilant roll.
Okay. No modifiers or
no modifiers.
Yeah, I need a 15. I rolled a 1.
You don't hear anything.
Okay. It doesn't sound like there's anything moving down here, which I suppose makes sense and is a good thing. Any preference on where we go?
I say go left.
Agreed.
Okay. Left it is. And I got some of the fog here a little clunky, so you'll have to bear with me. You emerge into what seems like a ring of a corridor. It does actually, it is a complete, square around this central chamber. The two doors on that central chamber are both closed. And it's probably worth noting there is another door on the top part of that ring around, and on the bottom part of that ring around there are 4 doors quite close together. On the left side there is another door partway up from the bottom, and halfway up that left side is a corridor leading to the east, a corridor which partway down it has an odd stone frame around. It's the corridor to that you came down the first time. In fact, I will literally just clear that there. And connecting the two bits you can see is just a blank corridor. Apart from that, the portal with the spirit bound to it.
Okay, we made it through without annoying the spirit.
Well, we don't know if we've annoyed it. It just hasn't reacted yet.
That's true.
But it seems like perhaps that's bound to guard the more public entrance to this area, and we've found the private secret entrance, perhaps.
Maybe so. Are we going to investigate further out, or are we going to go see what this central room has in store?
I'd like to go in the central room.
Yes.
Absolutely. The doors to the central room are more sizable and solid than the rest of the doors you've seen down here, other than the Lover's Gate that you came through. It is, however, relatively easy to kind of push and creak them open. And inside, you see a room crowded with many bits of desiccated and wrecked furniture, wooden, stone, metal. There are even kind of shards of glass across the floor. Remnants of what seems to have been maybe a kind of bookshelf along one side with all the parchments and scrolls and tomes on it, long since fragmented apart. Ganderald kind of peers down at the ground and looks all round and says, "Well, this is quite a find. I think this was a laboratory." And I have no big cliffhangers for us, folks. Not immediately. But finding a laboratory, that's kind of fun. You get all sorts of things in a laboratory. So we'll leave it there for the week.
All kinds of interesting diseases.
Absolutely. There we go. So that is the Witch Hammer for this week. Not that we've done any of the content in the book, The Witch Hammer, but we'll get there. We'll get there. Thanks for watching, folks. Leave some comments and questions in the chat if you have them. And in the meantime, I'll do a wee bit of promo. Down below, links, YouTube, Twitch. You've watched on one, check out the other. Social media, Patreon, Discord. Check those out if they're things that interest you. We are running 3 weekly streams at the moment. Mondays is Warhammer. Tuesdays is Cincinnati Chronicles, which is our World of Darkness anthology series. And Wednesdays is lovely old Symbaroum. We also run monthly one-shots. The next is on this Sunday. That's Sunday, August the 14th. We'll be playing Night of the Hogmen, and that will be a lot of fun. And will feature, I think, only one of the crew here. It's got John in it, but it also has Justin and Johnny and Steve and Pierre. So if those are, I'm sure those are literally all your favorites from the Telling Tale crew. Who gives a shit about these reprobates?
And if they are your favorites, then you should join us on Monday for Warhammer.
Yeah, because
most of the Monday crew,
apart from Pierre or everyone there is Warhammer. Yeah. So there we go. Lovely stuff. All right, John, give us the wisdom of chat. An oxymoron. Love you. Not this chat, just everyone else's chat. One from Steve to Steve. I was definitely thinking the Into the Odd approaches had stuck. Well, I'm just wading in.
I think.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, definitely cop ass.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I wasn't
and approves of this. It's
yeah,
I
wasn't going to go in quite that strong, and then I saw Chris sort of gesturing from his little square, and I was like, "Sod it."
Yeah,
Aaron, Halroth, they'd get along great. I just want to say that.
I think they actually would really like each other, wouldn't they? I'd just be insufferable.
There's definitely a prestige himbo class that they both take in a level or two. I feel.
Yeah.
They have about 3 brain cells.
Aaron Dar is played by Brendan Fraser.
Yeah.
Mummy era Brendan Fraser.
Fraser,
I think.
Um,
It's spelled with an S, but I don't know how much that makes.
Oh yeah, I didn't. Whether it's got an I, I don't know. Anyway, yeah, there we go. Next, Lewin, welcome. I have never understood why they ruled Witch Sight in the ways they did. It is not a mystical power, but an ability. Nevertheless, you take temporary corruption up to 1d8 as master. Yeah, we've had this conversation before. I also don't understand why Witch Sight is an ability and not a mystical power, especially because it's like. I mean, really, the differences between mystical powers and abilities in Symbaroum is that one is called a mystical ability and one is called a power. The other wrong way around. One's called an ability and one's called a mystical power. Like the only thing is like how they work kind of varies, but because there's no limitation on being able to take them, like you don't have to be a mystic to take a mystical power. So it's like. Yeah, I kind of don't. I guess they're worth separating, but also like, yeah, it just seems.
The only
odd.
thing is, you don't get a permanent corruption for taking it, I suppose.
Yeah, I guess there is that, but they could have just put that in the description.
Yeah.
It's
I
odd.
agree.
I don't think it's the only one either. I want to say there's one more that's kind of a mystical power, but isn't. But maybe I'm talking rubbish. But also confusingly, the ones you can take for making you more safe and secure within each type of mystic that you take, like theurgy, witchcraft, all those, they're all abilities. So it's just, yeah, it's a bit confusing. It's a bit confusing. But we got there. John, everyone asked about Aaron's persuasive stat, but no one checked his cunning stat. Well, you say no one there, and yet it was you, John, who said, I'll do the jigsaw puzzle.
No, that was about the negotiation.
Oh, I see. Okay. Sure.
You definitely persuaded him.
Or his stunning cat. Oh, yeah, we didn't really mention the cat, did we? He's just been scrabbling around, having fun, digging in the dirt. Don't think too much about why a cat might be digging in the dirt. Yeah.
He's definitely left some of his own treasures around.
I think there was definitely a flavour of a potential avenue of negotiation that just went like, yeah, you might outnumber us, but you're looking at all of our fancy equipment and nice things and thinking that means a big payday, but it might just mean that we'd be really good at kicking you in.
Yeah.
You should have asked them if they'd take $50 and a meerkat.
Yeah.
No.
And so the meerkat's on the table for the next negotiation.
Yeah.
No.
Well, we're out of Thala, so you know.
Well, the next time we can try it your way with the extreme violence.
Next. Hello, and for 200 Thala, you could buy a castle. I did actually check this. For 200, for 500 Thala, you can buy a wooden fort. But a castle, I'm afraid, is 10,000 Thala. So, although I do think that the economy in Symbaroum is fucking weird, because I think there's a really deep disconnect between the prices they say things are in the books and the standard rewards they give out for pre-written scenarios in the books. Because I'm just saying, I have read some scenarios of like ruins and stuff that are recommended for early groups that have incredible amounts of valuables in them. And I'm like, is this intended? It feels like, you've booted up Elder Scrolls and the first treasure chest you go to in the first dungeon has like the end game sword in it.
There's like 3 actual Elder Scrolls in it.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll see.
I was looking through a thing earlier as well. I was basically looking at the prices of instruments for a random reason. There was one, a hurdy-gurdy is 3 Thala.
Okay.
And yet is most known as an instrument used by beggars in Indaros.
Right.
It's the most expensive instrument.
Right. Yeah.
Used only for street buskers with no other possessions.
I'm going to back up because that is directly analogous to the Ullin pipes, which are literally 10 to 15,000 euros a set, and yet are traditionally used by the blind pipers of Ireland and beggars in Ireland.
Yeah, hurdy-gurdies are also desperately expensive in real life.
Yeah, that's not the part I was questioning.
Yeah.
We now have an accurate Thaler to euro conversion rate because I know how much a hurdy-gurdy costs.
Oh.
So let me work that out.
I reckon a Thaler is about 1,000 euros, give or take, by that reckoning.
One Thaler is about 350 euros.
Wow.
No way.
We just gave them how many euros for this to look in this dirt heap?
If 1 Thaler is 350 euros, that means next year 1 Thaler will be what, £20,000?
If 1 Thaler is 350 euros, that means 1 shilling is £3.50.
I mean, that actually feels kind of right, doesn't it?
Well, it's
in a really twisted way.
So what's a beer?
Look, I'm not saying it's. I'm not saying it's correct.
It doesn't. A beer is 2 Ortegs, so a beer is 35p. in this.
I'm not
no,
saying
sorry,
it's 100% correct.
Orteg is the one I was thinking of. No, Orteg is 350.
Okay.
Look, I'm not saying it's 100% correct. I'm just saying that this currency is backed by the hurdy-gurdies.
We're on a hurdy-gurdy standard.
Hurdy-gurdy is the Rosetta Stone of Symbaroum currency.
And it does mean if there's a hurdy-gurdy standard, then presumably somewhere Queen Corinthia has a secret site in which is stored like just vast piles of hurdy-gurdies. The Fort Knox of hurdy-gurdies.
All squeaking away solemnly to themselves.
Where the Symbaroum equivalent of James Bond will have like a fight scene with a barbarian with a throwable lethal hat.
The more you talk, the more fleshed out my spin-off series gets. So we need to cut this short now before I start actually opening up Google Docs.
I'm just imagining the event, the events that unfold when like the economy of Ambria begins to crash, and the fiscal solution to that is to go out and murder a bunch of luthiers, to bring the hurdy-gurdy value back up.
Absolutely, and they have like hurdy-gurdy bonfires,
Yeah.
Let's crack on. What else we got? We need a Thaler to Bitcoin ratio. I can tell you what the Thaler to Bitcoin ratio is. It's 1 Thaler equals 0 Bitcoin, because Bitcoin are fucking worthless.
Does it depend?
Morally speaking. Onwards.
Depend on a certain
before I have
person's
to
tweets
explain
over the
that,
past week.
and before I have to explain that, and our stream is brought down by 1,000 Musk Bros.
Let's move on before we attract the crypto bros.
42. This is actually a genuinely good question. Not that the other ones aren't, but did any of the players contemplate switching characters for Witchhammer? Over to Chris.
I never stop contemplating switching characters. In any role-play game at any stage of my life. I despise role-playing. I love character creation.
Thanks, Chris. Great advertisement for the channel. Someone click that, please. Yeah.
I've got a little pocketbook of characters I want to roll out at some stage, and I think the order of them is changing a lot. I think as we go further, I really want to play this Ordo Magica guy who is not either the stereotype pompous asshole or the stereotype nerdy clown, and kind of find someone who's just a normal functioning academic mage who's just kind of okay and pragmatic. And I'm feeling more and more drawn to bringing that breath of fresh air to the very...
I mean, you're calling it a breath of fresh air, but isn't that literally describe Ganderald?
He's more on the clown end, though. Nerdy clown.
Is he?
Yeah.
Ganderald?
Kind of a nerd.
Yeah,
nerdy.
He's a nerd.
It's a harsh judgment to call Ganderald
I don't think he's a clown. Has he done anything stupid or funny?
No, I guess he's not overtly comedy.
Ganderald is a nerdy clown. Don't at me.
Justice for Ganderald.
This is
those
clearly
hashtags going.
Yeah, some prejudice against changelings, if you ask me. Ganderald has never done anything clown worthy in his entire life.
Perfectly fine.
He nearly pulled off the whole Aziz Light gag in the middle because he got distracted by a shiny thing at the end of a flipping tunnel.
Hey? Oh, because he walked away from... Yeah, it wasn't an outfit. I will accept that he's a nerd. He's not a clown. Aren't you quite glad he's a nerd, though? Because otherwise he would have been relying on Anton Cunning rolls.
Yeah, to be fair,
for all this information.
We do need a nerd right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, in fairness, yeah.
My next character, I think, is going to be a luthier.
With as many hurdy-gurdies as money can buy.
Yeah.
Anyone else? I don't think anyone else has kind of contemplated switching characters.
I think I might have if we didn't realize Asgore was slightly less broken than we initially thought he might be. But
sure. I will also say, just to speak for Mike, but Mike has on more than one occasion asked me if he should switch characters because Anton might be uselessly broken. which I think is completely wrong. It's just that his rolling his garbage. I think he has some
100%.
very powerful abilities that he just has very bad luck with his rolls.
His holy aura thing is crazy when
it's crazy when it works right. And also he's our lore master, and that's proven on multiple occasions to be very useful. So no. But other than that, I don't think anyone has. Is there anything else there, John?
No, I think that's everything other than a follow and a subscript.
Yeah, I know. I just don't do them in the order that you say them. I know it. So thank you for the follow to the Flying Griffin and for the resubscribe to HG Jace. We really appreciate it. Thank you so much. And we will join you next week for more Witchhammer, folks. So join us for that, or don't. See if we care. And
we do care.
We do care. We care a lot. See you soon. Bye-bye.